From across time and space and throughout the multiverse, listen as two generations of comic book readers come together to discuss a single character or event that shaped pop culture as we know it. Let Your Geek Side Show presents Then and Now with Susan and Kitty. Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Susan.
And this is Kitty.
And we have two very special guests. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
No. No, thank you.
So we're here with comedian Jeff May and writer Jennifer Muro.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Hi. It's me.
It's me.
Jen Muro.
He's just
See,
hairier.
you can guess which one is which.
Yeah.
So today we're changing things up a bit and taking a look back at some of the biggest geeky things that have happened this last year, from movies to television to the world at large. A lot of exciting, influential, and even sad things have happened that are pop culture as we know it.
That should say shaping pop culture.
Okay, I was like,
That's
wow,
a typo.
Kitty messed up on the notes.
Kitty fell asleep halfway through
This is like the first time
Bad
Kitty
Kitty.
has ever messed up.
Oh, you
on
were just
notes.
waiting for that one, weren't you?
Can we please take a moment to remember the moment where...
So that's our first highlight. is
Yeah,
the
our
time
first
zone.
highlight of 2018 is that Kitty actually messed up some notes and had a typo herself.
This is the death of the podcast's innocence right
Yes,
now.
thank you.
So listen along as we
That was you.
Yep, that
on
was
you.
me. So that was me misspeaking as usual. That's not highlight at all. I do that all the time. As we recap our personal highlights from this year, it's 2018. Then and now, yo. Yep, that's happening.
It feels very weird to be doing a 2018 then and now. We usually do
we
specific
did-
characters. And
We did NYCC then
we
and
did
now.
New York Comic Con. So I think the pop culture news circuit does deserve to kind
All right.
of be looked at retrospectively.
I agree. What do
so-
you all think?
I disagree.
Oh,
I disagree. None of this.
it's going to be one of these podcasts.
A lot of people in comedy say yes and, not me. No, we shouldn't talk about anything.
All right.
He
and-
generically disagrees on everything.
Yeah, so podcast over. Thank you guys for
The end.
listening.
Love us. Yes.
All right, so do we want to get one of the obvious ones out of the way
Yeah.
with Avengers Infinity War? So that happened.
What is that? What is that?
There was a war, and it was infinite.
So it's still happening.
Yeah. It's
There
the
was-
never-ending
there was
story
There was
about
some
a war.
gems. There was a gold thing. It was
There was
fabulous.
like a glove, a golden glove, but not baseball, Jeff.
Right.
I was
And
a
not
boxer.
Goldfinger.
Literally could have done a boxing reference.
I could have, but
Oh.
you're wearing like an Orioles shirt, so I
I'm
thought
wearing
baseball.
a Bill Ripken in 1988 Fleer.
Cool.
Just so
the
we can paint
swears
a
on it
picture
shirt.
for you guys
Yeah.
here in this podcast.
And the hat.
Infinity War was an event, huh?
Yes, it was.
It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. I always like to emphasize how I lost all my characters and Kitty lost none of hers.
Oh, yeah, in
and
the
that's
snapping.
That's how the snapping happened. I lost all mine. She lost none of hers.
The last time we went and saw the film, she turned to me and pointedly held up a finger every single time one of her favorites
I
died.
was like,
Oh my God.
And so that led to me laughing through the death of Spider-Man.
Well, looks like somebody cares a little too much about Phase 1 then, because they kept everybody from Phase 1 nice and
Oops.
safe.
well,
Well, that's funny because Spider-Man, I was at the Cinerama Dome, and I was there
Hey, we were too.
when I think it was Tom Holland. Yeah.
Oh, when he ruined it?
Yes, he came out. He's like, I'm alive, and he's like, wait a minute, wait, did you just see it or did you just? And we're like, and he's like, oh my God. And a lot of us didn't catch it. But the friends who did see it, I was with Matt Mercer and Matt Key, and they had seen it, and they're like, oh my God. But a lot of us didn't
Catch
it.
it.
Didn't
That
totally
kid,
ruin it for us.
that kid
But he
can't.
felt super bad.
He
felt
can't
terrible.
stop screwing up,
I
spoiling
love
his movies.
watching him and Benedict Cumberbatch in the same room where Benedict's just like, like
Yes.
over him.
But it was the most charming. Like for me, that's actually one of the most memorable things this year because I had been there for that, and he was just charming.
I got to see it in Massachusetts with my brother, which was really nice because I live out here in LA and I never really get to go home, so I just happened to be home then, and so I got, I guess, punched the
microphone.
So I really got to go home and enjoy it with my brother, and that was like a really great experience to have because we don't see each other for years, and then to have that, it was pretty rad.
Yeah. I had my father call me afterwards because he has seen none of the most recent Phase movies, and he'd not seen Doctor Strange or Thor Ragnarok. So he's like, so who were all these guys? And I'm like, I mean,
have
they're
the
gone
energy for
now. I
this.
don't have to explain this to you. But
That's a loaded question. Like that's hours of
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, that's a big, like, you know what? Screw you for even asking me that question. Like, I don't have the time and energy and emotional stamina.
Yeah, and
that is emotional labor I don't want to do.
again, you have to remember she didn't lose any of her characters.
Well,
I'm just gonna keep pointing that out. Just hand your dad a stack of like Blu-rays and be like, "Here you go."
What do you hate,
Educate
Groot?
yourself.
No, I don't hate Groot.
It was pretty funny to just be like, one.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I was like, I didn't count Loki at the beginning, so 7.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I have a very select few. I mean, because one of them is Captain Marvel. Like one of my, she's not gone yet, so she's
Hopefully.
hasn't shown up in the. I mean,
Her movie
Hopefully.
takes place in the 90s.
yeah. So we'll see. Like,
I mean-
so a lot of my characters haven't shown up.
Shut
yet.
up.
I mean, we saw the trailer. We know that
right.
she's
Yeah, I
She'll
know.
show up.
I know.
she's gonna
She'll show up.
find
I know.
Tony in space.
I know. Yeah, that's
Which
what-
is a great name for a new movie, which is Tony in Space. I would go.
I would
see
watch that Netflix series. I would
Right?
binge it.
Yes.
But with Muppets. Tony in space.
All right. Okay. We all
She's too
agree.
young for that.
Oh, don't do
We're
that.
aging ourselves.
Don't
it's
do that
fine.
to me.
I'm just gonna jump in that plate glass window right
Yeah.
now.
All right. So what's next on the list?
I mean, if you want to talk about characters that I did possibly lose, the Marvel cancellation or the Netflix cancellation of all the Marvel properties hit me pretty hard. That was kind
Pretty
of
rough.
I mean, 'cause
some of them.
I was gonna say, to be fair, when Iron Fist got the axe, we were kind of like, okay, there's
right.
still 3,
Well, season
4
2
more
was great,
shows
right?
with. Season 2 did pick up a lot of learned from its mistakes, but
Let's go with what Kitty said.
and
Sure.
it shortened its season, so there was less of it. But
It improved
Always a good
by
sign.
having less.
But I mean, that was the one that everybody thought if something was going to get canceled. And then the axe falls on Luke Cage, and then we get Daredevil season 3, and we're like, there's no way. They went out on an amazing high note. Like, there's no way. The writers are already discussing season 4, and then that happened, and now we're just waiting in limbo with the Punisher and Jessica
Oh,
Jones.
those are canceled.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if you knew
no, of
that.
course.
Like they're
No.
not officially canceled, but those are very
Yeah.
canceled.
So
But on like a more positive note
Mm-hmm.
for Marvel television, I'm really enjoying some of the other Marvel television small screen offerings like The Gifted and Legion and Runaways specifically.
Runaways is great.
Runaways is so good.
When I was a teacher, I used to keep all the digest volumes of Runaways. I have like 4 copies of every one. All my kids used to, because I taught 8th grade. So those like 13, 14-year-old kids really,
like,
really got
here.
that. So I have photos of just like a big, like, I think it's like a 4-foot long digest stack of
Yeah.
Runaways books. So I was so stoked when that came out.
yeah, because
So
that
good.
one's a great stepping stone series for a lot of people who are kind of skeptical about comic books. And so when they read that series and then they go to the television show, it's just like it's really cool to see that team come to life.
I completely
We
agree.
also don't know what's coming. I mean, they're canceling it for a reason because they're
Right.
going to have their own platform. So
Right.
we don't know if it's going to switch over or what's coming next. So
Exactly.
I don't.
Right.
And it's not like it would have been canceled had. Well,
Right.
Iron
And I'm a
Fist
little
would have, but-
hopeful for things like Daredevil coming back
Right.
because it was a more popular and a stronger one.
They made an announcement. They said, "Don't worry, we have something planned for these characters." And all the actors were like, "Cool, cool, cool. You've got something planned for the characters. Great."
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, so things happen. They'll show up
Well,
somewhere.
that's pretty big. I mean, that's not.
Yeah.
I know.
It's a lot of news,
Yeah.
all the news.
you know.
All the-
Marvel putting theirs out, and then DC being like, "We have one. We're going to put it out now."
Yeah.
Like
I
the
was gonna,
DC
yeah,
universe.
everyone gets a streaming service now.
Yeah. You get a streaming
When's
service.
the Sideshow
And you
streaming
get
service?
They don't want that.
I will say this: the DC service, I tried signing up for it. You can't get it on a gaming platform, like on an Xbox or a PlayStation. If that's your hub, you just can't get it.
I knew it was limited in the amount of devices you could connect, which was kind of a turnoff.
Well,
but
then there we go. We were
we
going to
can't get
go
it.
in on a service together, and now we can't.
I
That sounds like a bad sentence.
You
tried
can't?
today, and I was like,
Oh no!
Because I do a podcast where I consume Batman, and I watch. It's
Yeah.
literally Tom and Jeff watch Batman, and so I'm like, I'm like, all right, well, I might as well just pay for this so I can watch Mask of the Phantasm and all this stuff that's really great that I want. And then they're
You
like,
don't own it?
no,
Wow.
yeah. Well, I moved here and I had to downsize a lot of my stuff.
Okay, well.
But yeah, you can't. I like tweeted at them like, why aren't you on it? They're like, we'll get there. Stay tuned. And I'm like, no, you don't stay tuned me.
yeah.
Like,
Like,
did you
that's my
not?
streaming
Yeah.
platform.
Did you not think that DC fans and video gamers don't sort of overlap a little bit?
No.
Oh no, that's
too.
really
And
unfortunate.
I will watch on a PS4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
how
yeah.
most of us use those as our cable boxes now.
Yeah.
Like those are our hubs.
I wonder if they'll fix that in time for the bulk of the stuff that's
Like Stargirl
and Swamp Thing and the Harley Quinn that's all going to come out in 2019.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
I'm sure they will. They probably just didn't make the deal yet, I'm
Yeah.
guessing. And they're like, well, we're not going to wait, so let's roll out what we
Yeah.
can.
Let's put out Robin saying the F word.
Yeah.
People will love it.
Well, now that we've moved on to DC television,
Yeah.
how about that intro of Batwoman and Ruby Rose?
That was awesome.
Oh my God.
I mean-
she looks so good as Batwoman.
I haven't seen it yet. I mean, I know what she looks like. Obviously, I've seen that, but not the actual episodes. Watch it. Okay.
Elseworlds.
I am behind.
Susan had to read that a million times for the Alexa skills.
That is a highlight of my 2018.
Okay,
I'm
awesome.
I'm about 8 seasons behind on Arrow, so I gotta get caught up on that.
I don't watch. I think so.
I thought
I don't know. It's
I don't know.
however
There's a lot
many
of
seasons
seasons.
there
Anyway,
are.
yeah.
I'm that many
Well,
behind on Arrow.
I've only watched like 3 seasons of Arrow, and then I just stopped watching because there were too many of those.
I like the
DC.
Flash.
I
That's
watch
the one
Flash.
I watch.
I
yeah.
watched the Flash. You know which one I love? I love.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah,
It's great.
Legends is
Yes.
amazing.
it's
yes.
so amazing.
that one is so much fun.
and it just doesn't like take itself seriously. It just
No,
is like, no, we're a fun show, and that's it.
It's very Doctor Who in a lot of ways.
yes.
with the comedy.
Yes!
Oh, sorry.
I was literally no. Just apologize that we had the same idea.
Well, yeah. We're just.
Yeah, but
I am so sorry for thinking the thing you thought.
But definitely, I feel like you could watch Elseworlds without having the base because
One
you
would
know
think,
the
yeah.
characters.
And I think the biggest thing, apart from Batwoman, because that was obviously a thing to drive interest for a Batwoman series, why isn't there a show with Tyler Hoechlin as Superman and Bitsy Tulloch
Oh
as
my
Lois
God.
Lane? They were perfect.
I would watch that,
And my
the
heart
nude,
melted.
Like,
They were
that's
so cute.
The kid from the Road to Perdition.
yes,
Superman
that would
now.
be- yeah.
That's good for him. That's how I know him.
Yeah,
That's how I
well,
know that kid.
another comic book movie.
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go.
That was Vertigo, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Deep cuts, deep cuts.
Yeah, we're going with the real
Yes.
deep cuts here.
That's what Jeff and
You
I
know
do.
that Tom Hanks comic book movie? And with
Isn't it Daniel Craig also?
and what's his name? Paul Newman.
Yeah, that's right.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a great movie. If you've never seen
Actually,
it,
I've never
you should
seen
see
it.
It's
Okay.
a pretty good movie.
Okay.
It's also like Tom Hanks's darkest role. I
Yeah.
think he's a scumbag in that
Yeah.
movie.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, good times.
Yeah.
For Tom Hanks back like 10 years ago.
Yeah, when he's
so
not-
back to 2018.
Right.
Well, then and now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There we go. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about that was like deeply personal to me.
Deeply personal to her, and we actually know that Jeff is a fan of this based on his Twitter feed, which if you don't follow him, he's pretty hilarious.
The release of the Detective Pikachu trailer
Ah,
blew my
yeah.
mind.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Yep.
because that one I've played every single generation of Pokemon games since they've come out, and I've beat most of them. There's a couple I still have to
let
finish,
you two
but
do this one.
but
I'm just gonna sit here.
Here's what I'll say is I've played, wait for it, none of them.
none of them.
And
okay.
we are equally as stoked about this movie. I think.
Good. Okay, yeah, because for me especially, the biggest takeaway was some of the Pokemon do not look like what I thought they would in live action, and that's better or worse than, I mean, because someone pointed out that Jigglypuff's a balloon, and like it's not supposed to have fur, but would you want to see that thing without fur on the screen in live action? I would not.
Here's why I'm fascinated about this movie
Mm-hmm.
and why I went on a mild Twitter positive tirade
Yeah, I was
about
gonna
this.
say he went on a pledging his allegiance to Detective Pikachu.
Because this franchise is massive,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. I mean, people were getting hit by cars and walking off of cliffs by playing the
Yep.
their game. The fact that they could have done anything as their first movie, literally anything. They could have done Ash and the other ones. Sure, yeah, that one, Misty and Brock.
Yes.
I've also never played any of these games
Yeah.
either, so I'm
They could
I'm
have
sorry.
done. They
That's
could have
okay.
done that. They could have done their own little animated Lord of the Ringsy whatever, and then they come out of nowhere with some batshit crazy idea of having Ryan Reynolds voice a Pikachu in some sort of twisted Roger Rabbity, nightmarish. The balls of whoever decided to
The
do
Pokeballs.
this is so I respect it so much because they could have done the obvious move. They could have made this is our first movie and we're building up. Detective Pikachu should have been their 5th to 7th movie. Like, that's where it should have been. You don't go crazy on your first movie. And they went so off the reservation, and I am so enamored by it. Like, I am so in love with this decision.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wholeheartedly all in just because of my loyalty to the Pokemon brand, but just seeing that as showing up, it's just like, oh my god. And I know there's actually a video game that came out pretty much the same time that they started like developing the movie, but Pikachu has like a grizzled old detective voice in the game. Like, it's really jarring to hear him. So it's like the fact that Ryan Reynolds is going to be doing it. I don't know.
Keep looking at me like I have feedback about this.
You're staring at me.
I mean,
I've got nothing intelligent to say. It just looks great.
We bring the same amount of back knowledge to this show, which is like rifling through our brains to remember the names of primary characters, really. And then
which one's Pikachu? Which one's Pokemon?
Yeah.
I was like, I know what a Jigglypuff is. I
Sure.
did not know it was a balloon.
And the Mr. Mime interaction is so great. And then the internet really discovering about what Mr. Mime is all about is utterly insane. I think Mr. Mime hooks up with your mom if he hates you. That is amazing.
So, I mean, that was definitely there's. I mean, he's not. He's not wrong.
Jen's face right now is the best.
He's not
I'm just
wrong.
gonna go get a cup of coffee while you all do this. Okay. Yes, terrifying.
But I mean, just the reaction that trailer caused. Like, I can only wait to see what the movie is gonna do when it comes out next year.
I pledge my fealty.
Yes.
To Detective Pikachu.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
And what else can you say about it?
I mean, we've only gotten one preview, and it's changed my life.
There you go.
Okay.
Wow. So to steer the conversation in a little bit of a sad direction, we also lost 2 comic book greats this year.
We actually lost a lot.
We lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
Especially in pop culture. But I think for us in nerd culture, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee were very huge blows for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of like the last couple of architects of so many people's childhoods.
Yeah. We got to hold on to the rest.
Yeah.
We're
like, please don't go.
Yeah. Put John Romita in like a glass
case.
case.
He needs to be put in like one of those rooms that's like sealed.
Hermetically sealed room.
Yes.
There
it was like you put on the hazmat
but with
suits.
oxygen.
Yeah.
Right,
yes.
You can't live in a vacuum,
Right,
obviously.
But yes.
Everyone protect Denny O'Neil. Like, don't let him. The loss of Steve, I think it's interesting because Steve was I think Steve Ditko has been a tragedy for quite some time because of, I think, a lot of how things shook out between Spider-Man and the creator ownership, and been very vocal about it. But I think also the loss of Stan was very hard, especially because of sort of the later years. I mean, we're all convention people. We've all been to enough, and you've seen him at the conventions. You're like, you gotta stop putting let him. Get him out of here. Like, let him go hang out and take a
nap.
break.
Let him take a nap.
Yeah, he needs to rest a little bit. And I think and obviously all the tumult that happened after the fact with what was going on with his money but to thank somebody so much for putting his hand in so much of stuff that got created. I mean,
it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't exist anymore. That system. I mean, it's like the studio system in Hollywood for movies and in comic book. I mean, I don't think it does unless I'm a crazy person. Okay,
it does
like
not.
as George Lucas made.
Who's another person we need to keep safe for a while.
Whoa.
I mean, he created Star Wars.
Sure, but he also directed Star Wars Episode 1.
All right. Well, you're
I'm
talking.
kidding.
Prequel baby. Prequel baby.
Don't do that to me.
Kidding.
No, don't do that to me.
No,
they were. You'd be proud. Like they were your first Star Wars. You wouldn't be a geek without them.
I'd say J.K. Rowling might be the one that is sort of the last of the the Mount Rushmore of creating these worlds in such a huge way. I mean, there are some books, Artemis Fowl and stuff like stuff that people consume a lot of.
Oh yeah.
But really, the
Harry
ones that are
Potter.
changing Maybe Shigeru Miyamoto?
Oh.
Is that from Nintendo?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I
Shigeru
gotta-
Miyamoto.
Yeah, like
And then Hayao Miyazaki on the Studio Ghibli side.
yeah.
So
But like worldwide, that's that makes
J.K.
sense.
Rowling
Yeah.
is like the one.
That's
Yeah.
that's the baby of the group of
for sure.
yeah.
Of that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was
Hey,
just,
JK.
it was,
Yeah.
Hit me up. Hit me up, JK.
That's
yeah,
amazing.
just a lot of, it's interesting whenever people do pass and people finally get to say like, hey, I never really expressed how much this person meant. A lot of outpouring for so many people this year.
Yeah. I've met him 2 or 3 times, and one of the times, the first time I ever met him, we were both in a green room at what was Kamikaze then, but is now the Los Angeles Comic-Con. And I kind of like bumbled my way into this green room, and he's just standing next to me like his handlers had gone. And my license picture at the time was me in a Spider-Man costume.
Oh my goodness.
From the, and it's like you can see the whole emblem and stuff. It's very obvious. And I said, I just wanted to say, thank you for everything that you've done. And clearly, and I showed him, he's like, oh, isn't that great? And I was like, thank you, Stan. Thank you for drifting away from your handlers and letting me bother you while you're. And I also got to interview him once, and it was they were both really, really wonderful experiences. And he really loved his fans. Like he lived off their love.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, what else, Kitty?
I've run through my list.
You've run through your
I
list?
ran through my list.
Oh my gosh. Well, what about you? What are some of the things? You know what? Jen hasn't spoken.
Yeah, let's get.
Yeah.
I was going to say Jeff for one
Oh,
second.
thanks for the pressure.
Hand up in my
I did.
face.
I did.
I like it.
Jeez, no pressure. Oh my
Yeah, what's
gosh.
some of the things that have affected you this year or you've been passionate about that have come out during 2018?
God. Well, I mean, honestly, Infinity Wars was actually a thing, but we
Right.
talked about that. 2 other things, I guess, would be Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, for multiple reasons, but for me personally, the women in that movie were beyond.
Oh my gosh.
And like, especially African American women, and that's actually a big thing for me because I like the exploitation drama and blaxploitation drama and Coffee and Cleopatra Jones and those back then, like those were one of the first women who could be badass. Like seriously, like other than Wonder Woman in the 70s and Charlie's Angels and Bionic Woman. They were even before that, and you didn't see. That was one of the only genres where you can see that kind of power, and it just kind of. I'm like, wow, this took forever to do this again, and
You have
it's
the warrior woman back
Yes,
in,
and-
like in the mainstream.
they were just glorious. So that was huge. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then to see like Okoye come together with all the other
Yes.
women in like that fight scene with
Oh my God.
in Infinity War with Scarlet Witch and Black Widow as well, just to watch those women fight together was kind of brilliant and amazing.
I just want a movie with her.
Yeah.
That'd be
Oh yeah,
fabulous,
like just the Dora Milaje.
yeah,
if that was
yeah.
if that was
Yeah.
the title
was
of
the
the
other
movie,
one.
I would be there so fast.
The moment that blew my mind with Okoye was in Black Panther when she's like facing off with W'Kabi, and he's like, my darling, would you like kill me?
Oh my
And she's
God.
like, I would put Wakanda in front of you in a heartbeat. I know
Yeah.
that's a terrible paraphrase of
No,
that,
when-
but just
yeah.
that scene was
She
so
said that.
Yeah, that is word for word. It's just so amazing because you don't see I just the loyalty and the bravery and just like the fact that
Service.
yeah, and I thought that was so cool that she would also
That was
just
one of
stand
those-
up to this character. It's like that. Our relationship doesn't mean anything in the face of my duty to the king.
Yep. That
so
was
cool.
one of those moments where I just burst into tears because I was like, knowing that there's something for a woman in a movie beyond like just this guy she's seeing is fantastic.
I don't relate.
Get out of our podcast.
Thank you, Jeff.
But like, because that movie did a lot for also a lot of the characters in the Black Panther comics that kind of needed an update. Like M'Baku, he was
That was really well done. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely needed an update. But the Dora Milaje, because when they were first introduced, they were like wives in training for the king in the comics, and like now that
They're warrior women.
yeah, you wouldn't dare like ever think of that
No.
after seeing the Black Panther
Yeah.
cast. It's just so
That was great.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
It was
was
really.
when we see you go to Disneyland and they have the Dora Milaje there. More people like want to take pictures with the Dora Milaje. Like you see this like huge group like around Disney, like in the Disneyland by Black Panther, and like yes, there's a line to see T'Challa, but like that like huddle around the Dora Milaje is amazing.
I also like that this is an example of sort of Marvel really finding its footing on making relatable and successful villains with characters like Killmonger, and then I mean the Vulture last year as well. But like of the relatable villain that you haven't really had, they've all been pretty like, I'm a bad guy because I'm bad. Look
Yeah.
at me, I'm greedy. And this time, like Killmonger, everyone's like, he's kind of got a point. You know? Like he's a sociopath, but he's got some pretty good points he's making. You know?
And
Like,
then I mean that's in 2017 with Vulture, you had like he's just trying to take
Tony-
take care of his family.
Tony
Is
Stark
he-
just shut him down. Like
is
he's got to
this-
live.
Is this really the worst thing to do? Yeah, it kind of is, but like, is it?
Yeah, and then with Thanos as well, where
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, in Infinity War, obviously the whole like I have to do this, like I don't want to do this, but
Yeah.
nobody else is willing to do it.
Right.
It is really fascinating because we're living in the thing he's talking about. We are overpopulating. We are destroying the planet. Like, you know.
Yeah. And then even it's almost like a new starting with Vulture and Killmonger and then moving into Thanos. Even when you come down to like Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was this year, that villain also was just someone who was like
Trying to live.
And
Yeah.
so they're getting into that more, the thing that makes Marvel Comics so great, which is the whole, this is kind of real. It's not, but it kind of is, like when you get down to the core.
I think it's also says something about us that we're like, oh yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp happened. We get so many of these that sometimes I just forget about.
That's another thing.
And that's the
been
first
happening, yeah.
woman in the title.
First woman in the title of a Marvel film. 10 years
There it is.
later.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Good job, Marvel.
Speaking of
And
women, Doctor Who was the other one.
That's the other one.
Yes, which is a female Doctor Who. I mean, that's like life changing.
I don't relate. No.
You just keep saying that after
Yeah.
every single one of them.
But I'm a huge Doctor Who fan as well, and like having Jodie Whittaker take the character and make it, because the character's been around for 50 years. Like, how do you make it different? And even as a woman, you still are playing the same alien that has been around for that long, but she's so brilliant.
Yeah. They made a good choice.
They made a really good choice, and she does bring a whole new dimension to the Doctor to make it new again. The same way I think when the reboot happened, Chris Eccleston did the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's massive. I mean,
It's massive. Yeah.
So
Huge.
there you go. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's huge.
So those are two.
So there you go.
What about you, Jeff?
What?
Yeah.
No, I don't pay attention to anything. I think the Disney Fox merger was fascinating for nerds. It's like, cool, X-Men in the
And
in
we
there.
keep all speculating now. Like,
Right.
what
Yeah.
does this mean? What does this mean?
And then, but it's funny, like it's interesting living in the city that we live in, where I'm like, cool, a lot of people losing jobs. Like with the
yeah,
Disney Fox
that's
merger,
true.
like for everybody that's like, we can get the FF and the X-Men in our next Avengers movie, and I'm like, several of my friends just got fired because of this merger,
Aw.
which that's an interesting that's
like pulling two different sides of
like a lot of people like.
Yeah.
It's not to be like a Debbie Downer about it, but every time something like that happens, we're like, cool. It's like, oh, this is a monopoly, right? That's what's
Yeah.
happening. Like, so I'm kind of interested in that. I was a big Solo supporter
As was I.
because I think it's a brilliantly fun movie, and it flopped by definition, and
you did do air quotes.
and you should be embarrassed if you didn't see it because it's super fun.
It was just a fun heist movie that took place in the Star Wars
It's
universe.
it's the most fun Star Wars movie that's ever
and
been
if
made.
you don't fall
Yeah.
in love with L3, like I don't know
Oh
who
my
you
goodness.
are.
They did a lot of like the Clone Wars style of like repairing a lot of the damage that George Lucas did with the prequels to the original
Yeah.
saga. That there's a lot of like really kind of like filling in like some mortar for the bricks that was really well done,
completely.
and a lot of adorably cute fan service that didn't affect the plot line in any way, but just worked really well.
Right, absolutely. I loved Solo. It
was
definitely,
great.
yeah. And then speaking of Star Wars, the introduction of Resistance, that cartoon series,
Yeah.
is so fun.
And Mandalorians is
And
coming
Mandalorian's
too.
coming, but that's for next year's recap.
Yeah, did you see that lineup coming up though?
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Yeah, so do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
Those are pretty big.
Yeah, all of those are pretty big. And the last thing that I just really need to mention, because I'll die if I don't, is Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say that's huge, and that will be huge. And actually, I've been talking about that a lot because I think it's going to change animation, theatrical, compared to Pixar and
completely.
Disney.
And the
Hopefully
fact
it will.
that they've already announced 2 sequels, one being a spin-off with just the females in the Spider-Verse. I'm on board for this.
I don't relate.
Just keep saying that.
Yeah,
John. That's
just keep
fine.
saying that. It just brought a whole new dimension to so many characters. And I love, by the way, I love the noobs who are confused by it because they're like, wait, why are there 2 Peter Parkers? And we're like, oh, honey.
They explain it pretty.
They do. They explain it great. But it's still just funny because we're like, us comic fans, we've known that there are multiples.
When the Jackal made the original Spider.
Yeah. And then I like push up my glasses in the middle and I talk like this and use my inhaler.
Well, I thought it was so brilliant how Sony Animation also kind of visualized the actual like meta experience of reading a comic book. Like one of my favorite tiny details is the scene with the bagel when he throws it. There's a sound effect that says bagel when it hits someone's head, and that's a movie I would almost want to sit there and watch frame by frame, slowed down, just to take everything apart. Like it was.
Whoops.
Woo!
Oh, someone's getting beamed up.
God. Yeah.
Sorry, that's my alarm. I apologize.
No, that's totally
But-
fine.
Sorry.
That is an alarm,
Nerd.
right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that was beamed up.
That's
No,
that's my thing. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean,
yes,
it
Spider-Verse.
just visualized the experience of reading a comic, and I hope that people who aren't fans of comics go to see that movie and go, oh, okay, I kind of get like, I mean, with the Ben-Day dots and we talked about this in our other podcast, so you guys will have to listen to both
You
to
have
get
to
the whole
listen to that
experience.
one.
yeah, so we have a podcast first.
Just the way they emulated the
shared universe.
the printer blurs and just
Yeah,
it was perfect on a storytelling level, but what it did for the animation was just mind blowing.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really great.
Thanks, Jeff. And by the way, now that we're wrapping up, I just want to take a moment to thank Jeff and Jen for coming in and
course.
hanging
You're
out with
welcome. Thank
us
you
to
for having us.
recap the best of 2018. Kitty,
Hey.
Yes.
I'll see you in 2019.
Oh my gosh. I'll see you tomorrow. What are you talking about? But we'll see our listeners in 2019.
That's right. Thank you guys so much for listening. So never miss out on the biggest pop culture headlines when you listen to our Daily Geek headlines for all of our news, trailer drops, images, and more. Thank you guys for joining us for an exciting and action-packed 2018, and we look forward to bringing you more geeky content in the new year. So thank you so much for joining us today, because that's 2018, then and now.
Yay. I relate.
Do you enjoy listening to Then and Now? We are proud to bring you pop culture content completely ad-free, but that doesn't mean we don't need your support to help us keep going. Please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting platform and help spread the word about our podcast. We welcome fan feedback. Email us at podcast@sideshow.com with your thoughts and suggestions for how we can make our shows even better. Please tune in for our other pop culture podcasts. See if your fan favorites make the cut in the Geek Culture Countdown, a bi-weekly podcast featuring pop culture top 10 lists. Hear exclusive interviews with celebrities and pop culture industry leaders as they let their geek side show in Look Who Showed Up. Then get all the latest pop culture news with our daily briefing, a 2-minute breakdown of the biggest geek headlines perfect for your Alexa or Google News briefings. We wouldn't exist without your continued support. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to let your geek side show.